and I
Hey,
will, and I
would
do,
you
and
would you
because the reason
consider
why I like to train is, I'm about to go to car church, but I'll tell you all this. You guys talk about growth, and if you don't train, man, that's what protects your growth. Because what happens when you don't train? You have weak presentations. What happens when you don't train? You have people skipping the steps. What happens when you don't train? You have the poor trade walkarounds. You have that hesitation from your team. You have that the fear of making the sale. They don't know how to ask for the business. That lack of confidence. Daily training, man, that's fixes all those things and makes you more gross. So if you're not training, man, it's costing you money, it's costing you deals, it's costing you everything. So I'm just I just want to encourage, man. It's you. Adam's so right, man. It's so right. That's part of being a shark, I guess. You need to be out there practicing every day, and if you're not practicing, you're not growing. So let's go.
has anybody here ever actually, sorry, dumb question. Anybody here actually run a boot camp? I don't mean, face in the mud kind of stuff or retreats like John was talking about, cold plunges. I'm saying literally did what a boot camp for sales for your sales team, where everybody has to do A, B, and C. And yes, you will lose some along the way because it's harder, but wouldn't you want to lose them before they start than when and after? I'm just wondering, has anybody
I
ever taken a group of green peas and done a boot camp?
so not green peas, but I did it as I was the F and I instructor for JM&A for a couple of years till we grew the department to more people doing it. But it was 5 days. You came in Sunday night, you couldn't leave till Friday night. It was discipline. This is where you go to do this. This is when the role plays are. This is the video. You do not have a choice. All of that was done for F&I, and then we did the same thing for uh, dealer development. And then there's a bunch of people out there that will do that for new salespeople. The problem is it shouldn't stop on Friday. And going into the store and role playing, not sitting there saying, "How's it going? Boy, let's look at your numbers." No, let's come in here and handle objections. Let's do your presentation. Let's get it better. Let's focus on one thing for the next 20 minutes. You will change what comes out of their mouth for the next 24 hours if you do that. And we got lots of Kelly Bundys. If you don't put something in their brain, the crap falls.
Goldfish. Isn't it
I
fascinating?
worked at a
At least it
dealership
is to me.
that eventually ended up.
Am I breaking up, Alex?
Go ahead, David.
Thanks, Melvin. Isn't it fascinating that we all in this room know that there's five core objections? And I'm not saying this room, of course, this room's more evolved, but the majority of people that realize there's five core objections don't know how to handle them. And they're going to come up from now till the end of time. And we're going to continue to come in like a goldfish, like it's the first time we're going to ever hear it. And we're going to do the same thing over and over and over. It's fascinating. I find it incredibly fascinating that we would be in any kind of industry that would allow that to happen day in and day out. But it does everywhere, and that's the good news for us in here
David, but
because
wouldn't you
that's the
say that?
experience customers are getting.
Wouldn't we say that we fail as leaders if we don't have them laminated, trained? Like we have laminated cars with the objection, and then three ways to overcome it. That everybody in that is in that position has a flashcard to be able to go through that process to be able to say, like Kyle talks about his call sheets. You should have that laminated in front of you every day. And if you're not following the call sheet that you have in front of you, that's a different story. Then we can troubleshoot that portion of the action, not if they have it or not, or they should know it. That should part is such a disaster when leading people.
Gosh, for some reason I'm breaking up, John. And I wasn't able to hear everything, but I do. I think that's one of the things that works so well as I'm at this vehicle acquisition 20 group. People talk about buying service lane cars and private party cars. Well, show me your written process. Give me the 5 core phrases and word tracks that they can use every single day to help somebody on the service drive or on private party acquisition overcome objections, or at least know what to say to get out of the gate. And most people don't have anything. Just get on the phone, make phone calls. We all know that doesn't work, but we do it every single day. And then people get disillusioned and then they leave. And then we're like, fuck, we lost again. That's why we're losing.
Hey,
And
by the
they
way,
don't.
David, by the way, everybody, David is so legit. It's been such an honor to be in the same room training and going over this with you. But the reason you're breaking up is because the Wi-Fi is in the gym. You might not have any Wi-Fi.
How do you wait? How
Oh,
do you go ahead and give me a compliment and then smack me? I was there. Where were you at 4 o'clock? That's what I want to know.
leadership, and that ended up selling to Roger Penske for a lot of money, a Toyota dealership. And every day at that dealership, there was this culture of training and role playing. And mind you, we knew what to say, and I was a salesperson there, and we knew what to say every time. We knew, but we kept doing it, no matter what. It didn't matter if you were the top guy or the low guy or whatever. We role played every single day, and the reason why it sold for so much money, and it still is to this day, I think, because it was the most profitable dealership in the Penske Group. I mean, it was. We ran stupid gross, but we ran the process every single freaking day. They had a manager by the soul line that would have to stand there every day, and they would rotate the managers to make sure that you would do a soul line. They had another manager in the service drive to make sure that you did a service drive walk every single freaking time. They had another manager on the floor that was making sure that you were pushing the customer to a worksheet, and that also you were doing your follow up. And he walk around and make sure you had this little blue notebook that they gave us with all our, you would have to turn it in at the end of the night with who you called and who people you contacted, who you engaged with, and how many appointments you set for the day. And every single day you had to do your percentages of closing and push to a worksheet and demo and all that stuff. And you knew your numbers every single day. And we did this every single freaking day. There was not one day that we did not do a lot walk, that we did not do all these things. And I loved it. Me being military, I was like, dude, I'm all about this. Let's go. And some people complain. Some people be like, oh man, we got to do this shit again. We got to do this again. We got to do. But guess what? Everybody was making a lot of money, and our closing was incredible. I think we closed at like 47%. It was insane. And
Alex, do you have that written out?
of course I do. I use it to today.
Can you send it to me?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, but it was like it was crazy, man. It was like they had and then I became a manager there. Thank you, Jesus. And I didn't want to, honestly, but they convinced me, and because I was making a lot more, they didn't pay the managers as much because Penske bought it, and it was. Anyway, but I'm glad I did because I learned a lot, and I learned about the process as a manager. And if they had two desk guys, there couldn't be two desk guys on the desk, never. That was not allowed. It was only one desk guy at the desk. Unless we got busy, then the other desk guy could sit down and work deals as well. But there was only one desk guy. How many times you walk into a store, yo, and it's dead? There's only one customer there, and what do you see at the sales desk? Let's go. Just chilling, right? Just like McVillain. They're RDRing. They're doing what? They're super busy. Oh, never mind. They're super busy. My bad. My bad. They're really busy.
They're bitching about Jalen Hurts losing them their fantasy league.
Yeah, but whenever I worked there, Adam, that was not allowed. It was never allowed. You could not. That was not allowed. It was ran by Italians. That's who did this. The Tamburo family. They're from Ohio. They're from Ohio. They're from Cleveland. But they came to Texas to show us how it's done. And they're mafiosos, 100%, man. And they ran
Let's
it
go,
one.
Cleveland. Shout
They're,
out to
they're
Cleveland.
they're running one way and one way only, brother. And there was no bullshit. No bullshit. Don and Dave Tamburo did not F around. And they had Ron Norton, which was like their bodyguard that walked around with them, and he did not F around. One strike, you're out, brother. We don't mess
Let
around.
me ask
And you
one
better
thing
do
to
it.
John and to you. John's at Date with Destiny. When Tony talks about getting leverage, one of the best ways to get leverage, I just found. I mean, I've known this. Sorry to interrupt, Alex, but walk out to your sales floor and ask one of your general sales managers or general managers, "Hey, did your team need any additional training?" "No, we're good, boss. We're doing it. We're training." "Okay, great." And then walk up to a salesperson and say, "What's your best price? How do you handle that?" And you'll see the deer in the headlights, and the general sales manager be with you. And then you walk over to somebody else and say, "I need to talk to my wife. What do you say to that?" And guess what you'll hear?
Huh?
Chirp, chirp,
Um,
chirp, chirp.
Crickets. Crickets.
Yeah. And so, how do you not get leverage from that point? So, hold on a second. So, we're talking about the same common objections that you're hearing every single day from every single customer that comes into the showroom. You got a lower than acceptable closing percentage, and you don't need more training. Like, help me understand that. And I think that's where leverage can come from. Does it always? No, because hubris takes over and people, "I got it figured out." And then we go back to our old ways and then we suck again. So that's what I was thinking about when you were talking, Alex. They do it, they do it, they do it, they do it, they get good. Then they forget like a goldfish. And then we get bad. And then it creates hard times. And then we go back to the disciplines. And it's a vicious cycle.
well,
Here's an
So they,
just quickly, are you know the story is, are you a gross store or a volume store? We're both, because we practice every day and we role play every day, and both things moved in the right direction. You can be both, but you can't be both if you show up at the first tee and you don't hit balls first and you don't practice, because you win the game in the practice room.
Uh, David, here's the analogy that I tell people all the time, and I'll leave you guys with this. I promise. I'll leave the room after this. I gotta go. I always tell people this. Remember when you were younger, David, and you were acting up, and I did this as a married man, believe it or not, and you asked your wife, "Honey, do you mind if I go out with the boys after work?" And she's like, "Sure, go ahead. I know you're working hard, Alex. Take a little load off. Go have fun with your team. I know you guys had a great month. Blah blah blah." This when I was a salesperson, right? And you go out there and having fun, and you know you're supposed to be home around 11:30 at the latest, but you're having so much fun, and all of a sudden your wife starts calling, and it's loud in there, and you're like, "Man, I don't want to go home," so you don't answer the phone, okay? And then what happens after you don't answer the phone, David? What does she do?
Bro, that has never happened in my 30 years of marriage. But
Okay, well, when I was younger, when I was younger, or your girlfriend, let's say your girlfriend, whatever, and she calls and she calls and she calls, and you're not answering your phone. I think most people have done this before, and then you're like, "Oh crap! Okay, now I got to go home." And you're driving home. You're going 80 miles per hour, whatever, driving home. And what are you doing on your way home? Are you just listening to music with the window down, just enjoying your drive home? You're thinking about what you're gonna say. You're
you're role
prepared.
playing.
Exactly. You got your story ready. Hey, honey, it was so loud in there. My apologies, man. Whatever it is that you're gonna say, you're ready. But but how many times do we go out there every day and we act like it's a surprise? Oh wow, they're just looking, man. What do we do now? Oh wow, they've never done a lease before. They've never owned a Toyota before. They've never whatever. So you got to be ready, man. You got to be ready. You got to know your story. You got to be prepared.
Hey, Alex, do me a favor and pray for some people that need it. We need some healing out there for some people who are sick.
Amen.
If I get in trouble with my wife, I'm going to have Alex call her.
Sounds
Yeah,
like he has all the right word tracks. That'd be a good move. Maybe you guys could role play.
She makes me nervous, so
I was in the bar last night. I took it off, put it in my pocket to keep it safe. And then I woke up this morning, it was gone. Alex, that doesn't work.
and then you have
So,
your ad agency print up an article about the local area with wedding rings being robbed from people. Look, hun.
So Brad, here's a, I'm going through this, I got very lucky and I was able to bring onto the team my mentor, right? My mentor of the last decade in the car business. And the thing that I found is that I'm just going around recording every single meeting that we're in, taking that transcription, and I'm going to build my training over with the 44 years of experience that he has with working with PepsiCo, Mastercraft, Ford, dealer groups, building them up to 16 stores, selling them off, incredible operations, running, the Audi Awards, best dealerships some of the best dealerships in the country. I'm like, are you as Alex is coming through this process that you have a killer, you have a great white shark in your showroom, is this the opportunity to run around with a recorder and say, how do I, as you're transferring this information, how do I document it so I can later turn it into content that we're making that available for everybody in the organization, and then training on those processes and those rinse and repeat word tracks that you can laminate, have on everybody's desk, quiz on them, like do that part of doing it. Because you, like, I hate to see opportunities missed, and I'm like, if I wouldn't have thought, or somebody wouldn't have said, hey man, you need to be recording every single call that Paul's on, I'm gonna miss this massive opportunity to archive the data that he has and the ways that he does things, and learn from the deep, rich knowledge that we're gonna benefit from the next 20 years from.
I thought a lot about that, and interestingly enough, I have some interesting answers. I think number one, what it's going to do for our young leaders that have lots of ambition to have a front row seat to what I believe is the greatest variable manager in the business. What a valuable gift that I'm going to give these young leaders. So, I don't know how long Alex is going to be there. Maybe 2 years max, because there's going to be an opportunity within Furman that's bigger and better, and that's fine. But he's going to give us the proof, the social proof of how unproductive we were and how much of unapplied time that we have, that how much gross we've left on the table, either from having limiting beliefs on gross and the training on gross. Those two things, just the productiveness of the team and the accountability that's missing. So we're going to go from good to great, and they'd have to be a fool, not through osmosis, to get a front row seat to see that when we thought that we're number one by 100 cars a month, we're dealer of the year and president's club every year, we're making net profits that the organization's never seen before, but yet I know there's a lot more, because there wasn't as much accountability and consistency out front, and we're blessed to be in this unbelievable area where the highest volume dealers are, where there's a huge population that the whole world's moving to, selling great brands. And yes, when we've done great things and we've implemented great things and tripled our sales, and our fixed operations is tripled, but I know there's a lot more there, and Alex is going to get it out of the team, and when they're leading a team someday, they're going to benefit and their team is going to benefit. So it's sort of a cascading effect of them paying attention, and the I take pleasure in the fact that they're all excited about him coming, because I really wasn't sure, when you're making a good paycheck and there's not tremendous amounts of oversight or accountability going on, it's a move your cheese thing, right? And that's not the case. So when I say before that I'd rather have good people than talented bad people, I mean it. And that's really what we've assembled here, is a bunch of people who want to learn, who really, I believe, try every single day to make me look good, and this is my present to them.
I pinned this onto the top of the room, but when with Jonathan's class, right, he was like, I'm not a sales guy, right? I'm not. That's not my role in the organization. I had to go eat my own dog food and learn about this process, right? And I took this recorder and I asked Jonathan, obviously, for permission. And when he would do his sound bites, right, his the word tracks, the words that unlock the connection with the customer to be able to get the action that you want them to do, right? The magical psychological words that he says. And I would record every single one of those. So I'd hit record on my little recorder, I put it on my desk, and then you'd go through that process. I'd hit end, and then when I got back, I downloaded them all into my computer, and then wrote all of them down, laminated them, and I have them literally in a laminated sheet on my desk. And every time I have a sales call where I'm going through that process, I pull those out and I'm drilling through the wants and the needs, and the wants version 2, the wants versus version 2, wants versus version 1, wants versus version 2. I go through this process and try to drill through that as much as possible. But I had one, if I would have pulled out that recorder, I would have gotten 5% of the information that Jonathan transferred over to us, right? I wouldn't have drilled through it. I wouldn't have had, would have never looked at the PowerPoint presentation again, right? That's usually how these things happen with training. And if I didn't drill that and go through that process of making the historical records for my use of that information, I would have lost this massive opportunity. I wouldn't have closed, 10% of the deals that I closed this year. Maybe that's the dumb way of doing it, but man, there's
No,
just
I
opportunity,
mean I
No,
did the
right?
same thing. I
that's
mean I
the way
used to.
you learn. That's the learner in you. So you keep being you.
Yeah, you just said it. I mean, earners are learners, and to the point that you just said, I mean, yeah, I used to write down the word tracks of all the great closes. I used to like be happy to. I'd have the B, H, and T. I had all these acronyms on my desk prior to going in on a TO, and I would practice on my cat, practice in the mirror. Uh, I mean, in other words, I think a lot of people just wing it. Okay, I don't wing anything, and I don't wing anything because I want to be. And the reason why I don't wing it is because I want to be great, and winging it sometimes is just good enough. Just good enough is rat poison.
And I know this is such a incredible saying of the room, is that the winners know the scores and champions know how it got there. But I'm like, I've been thinking about this for a long time. It's like dynasties are built on people that can build the systems that business owners, right, or leaders of an organization have to be systems engineers in some way, that we are building systems that are repeatable, troubleshooting where it's going wrong, that we're breaking them down into their smallest parts, and then troubleshooting where those fixes are. And the more that we're pulled into the operation of the business, the more we cannot work on those things. And man, it just, every time I jump out of the organization to go get training or to go get poured into, I see this on a regular basis, that I'm like, I'm actually working on my business rather than working in my business. And people are like, I don't have enough time, I don't. And like, that's a leadership problem. It's like, how did I create a system in my organization does not afford enough time for intuition, for designing systems, for fixing large scale problems, for doing 20% of the effort to get 80% of the result, the low hanging fruit of problems that we have in our organization. And if I bitch about a problem more than once, I'm like, I'm the problem, I have to figure out that I haven't dealt with it yet, right? So that I have to get into that mindset, and it starts with my responsibility and my accountability to start working on it.
Well, the one thing is the one thing. You don't have to be great at analytics, but you have to get better every day through that role play and practice. And I'm going to tell you, it will not. It's not going to build a building. It'll fix everything that happens inside the building, because people will be better prepared. They'll also come together as a team, and they'll realize that if they're not right for this organization, they'll disappear and not be part of what you're doing. But every day, as opposed to hiring somebody from outside the company to do it once a year.
Oh, 100% agree on that.
And
Analytics in any way, Adam. I'm just saying, like, problems, that
no,
reoccurring problems in
well,
the organization.
house or talking to a DM that has no agenda for being there, and neglect, truly neglect the development of their team. And that's really what their job is. I mean, the head coach on the football team doesn't neglect the players. He hires other coaches so that everybody's getting to practice and get better and get feedback, right? So there's practice by yourself, that's going to the driving range and hitting balls, and you actually get feedback at the driving range because the ball gives you feedback, but you don't know how to fix it. Then you have a coach who stands next to you and gives you feedback. Some of them show you how to do it so that you believe them, and then most of them will just help you do it, and then you'll get better feedback, and then you go out and play golf.